All right, I am Justin Nowell, and today we have an interview with the one, the only, Abe the Snake Mosseri. And today we're going to talk about his life with gambling, the history of the nickname, which I've always kind of wanted to know but have never asked, and how this money challenge with Mochi happened. You know, everyone's really interested. Everyone's been asking me to do this, and so here we are today. How are you, Abe?
Good. How are you, Justin?
I'm doing all right. I'm glad we finally got to do this. I've wanted to know a bit about you more than just us, playing a few times a week for quite a while. So I'm happy this gets to go up and everyone gets to know, and I myself get to get more educated about who the man is behind the snake. so
Okay.
what so where did you grow up, babe?
I grew up in Brooklyn. I was born in 1973.
Okay, 10 years before me.
10 years? Wow.
10
Okay.
years. Yeah, yeah. And what, you've been playing games since you came out of the womb, or how did that
Pretty much. When I was growing up, all we used to do was play board games and play sports. It's not like today where kids play. I didn't really play video games. Kids spend all the time playing video. I spent all my time playing games.
your
You know,
idea of
with
video games is video poker?
uh, it could. I play with like family members and stuff like that.
So do you have brothers, sisters?
I got one brother and one sister.
All right. And so what were the games like in that household? Were they really competitive, or
I made them competitive. Other people, they wanted to play casually, but they realized how competitive I was. So now they wanted to really beat me. Now, I'll tell you a good story. Now, I didn't even know about this story, but my mom told me this when I was older, that when I was 4 years old, I used to play Connect Four, and I would play with relatives, and they weren't playing that hard, and they'd kind of let me win. And I was so competitive about it. I kind of told them, "You play a little harder. Try to beat me. You can't beat me." So they tried to beat me. They couldn't beat me.
you
So
know,
even at that age,
I love Connect Four. I think it's a very undervalued game. And I used to, before I learned backgammon, I was playing chess over at the chess shop in the village, and I wasn't particularly good at chess either. And so the only game in the shop that I could beat people at was Connect Four, and I tried to get people to gamble with me playing Connect Four. Uh, Undervalued game. We should try it sometime if you want to play.
okay, then I won't tell you some of my secrets then.
I won't tell you any of mine either. So people know you as like a poker professional. If you go through the comments in the videos that are on my channel and on Mochi's channel, they'll go, "Oh, I recognize this guy. He's a poker pro. He used to be on those high stakes shows back in the day." But you got your start playing backgammon before poker was ever a thing, right?
Correct. I went to NYU, and during my time there, I used to stop by Washington Square Park to play, and I'd play chess before classes or after classes and stuff like that, just for really small stakes. And I would never win, but I just liked the fact that we were I was just playing. I was out there playing, and then one day I saw them playing backgammon, and I've played backgammon as a kid against family and friends, never with a doubling cube. So we just played just like I guess what you'd call 1 point matches
Yeah.
today, and I would always do well, but I just wanted to see how I just liked the game, and so I started playing with those guys backgammon. Now they explained to me all the cube stuff, but when I started, the guys that I was playing against, they were probably playing at a PR of like 20.
That was good back in the day.
I'm not kidding. Now we're talking like 92, 93, something like that.
Okay.
And I truly believe I was playing my checkers before I even played anything. I was playing at a 6, my checkers.
Day
when I
one.
started.
Day one.
Day one.
I'm playing at a 6.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I really
but
believe.
you got the feeling. That's for
Yes.
sure. The Abe Snake is not lacking the confidence in that arena. I told that story during one of the streams. I think I go. You know, the first day he ever started playing competitively, he was better than all of his competition by a mile.
That's true.
And
Actually,
yeah.
when I was playing back in those days, and even till I got in the streets, I would probably win 14 out of 15 days. That's how big my advantage was.
Those were the golden days where you could play a 20 and think you were amazing.
Correct. And people
Right?
did.
So
Yeah.
you play a 20, you thought you were the best, and if anyone told you different, there was no way to prove otherwise. This was
Well,
before computers or
they had jellyfish or something. That was like before, but it was very. I mean, I'm sure that program wasn't as good as anything we have today,
yeah.
and we didn't really use it that much either. I mean, a lot of the rollouts that people would do rollouts, manual rollouts and stuff, and it was very, very time consuming and cumbersome. And I'm sure it wasn't nearly as accurate as some of the stuff that's happening today with 2 seconds in extreme gammon.
Yeah, I mean, it's impossible to kind of replicate what a computer does because the computer is playing itself over a certain number of games. And then with the hand rollouts, you're playing yourself, and then you're assuming that you're playing the correct moves to get to a certain outcome anyway. So, of course, there's inherent error in that as well. So, you started playing, and what stakes were you playing at back then when you first started playing, back in 1992, 1993?
Dollar a point.
Dollar a point. But in 92, a dollar a point's the real money.
Now, I was in college. I didn't have any money. And actually, that's where I met Falafel there.
Oh, you
Everybody
met Falafel in the park, yeah.
Park, yeah. Yeah, in the park. He
Him
was,
and Russian Paul and
yeah, and that's how you wanted to talk about how I got my nickname is Russian Paul, who was a chess hustler.
who's still on 14th Street, by the way, to this day. If you ever want to go play a legend.
Yeah, when I played him, and he used to watch me play, and he said I used to kind of slither out of positions, so that's how he said you're a snake, and then I became Abe the Snake or the Snake, and when I was playing in the streets, that's how I was kind of known as the Snake all the time.
So Russian Paul has given everyone their nicknames. Russian Paul gave Falafel the name Falafel
Correct.
too. So
Correct.
all of these people that had come from the New York City gaming scene that have like an epic nickname, they all came from Russian Paul. Abe the Snake, Falafel. It's pretty crazy actually. And I've known Russian Paul for years. I actually started playing backgammon because of Russian Paul and Junior and these guys, because they used to come into the chess shop back in the day and they were all playing chess, and then they started playing backgammon when I was there as well, and they were gambling playing it. And I could never gamble playing chess, right? But backgammon, seemed much more approachable as a game.
How good were you able to beat them the first time you played?
I mean, here's the thing about backgammon. Like, as a teacher of backgammon as well, when I work with little kids, you can give them a few tips as you go along. You get them to understand the game, and then a 6-year-old could beat you in a single game. Like, it's not impossible. So yeah, of course. And I remember.
Did you feel that you were better than them?
No, I didn't feel that I was better than them the day I started playing.
Okay.
The day I started playing, I wasn't playing at a 6 like somebody I know, but I might have been playing at like, I don't know, maybe like a 12, a 13. I was pretty bad. I would refuse to take advice from people though. And I think that was a good thing, and it was also a bad thing.
Wow.
But I think also just basically a good thing overall, because you realize at a certain point, unless you're elite players, that nobody really knows what they're talking about.
That's definitely. I mean, I listen to what people say, but I don't necessarily follow it. I have to come to my own conclusions, unless I'm talking to an elite player in a game. Then I
Exactly.
But,
when certain people talk, I listen. When other people talk, I hear them.
Right. Perfect.
Right. And so, yeah, I got my start just from exactly the same people you're talking about, which is crazy. They've never given me a nickname, though. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But so you've been playing, and you started playing for $1 a point. And when, I mean, obviously you realized that you were good at these games and you were playing backgammon and you were winning. When did the stakes go up? When did the university thing at NYU,
Okay, so
yeah.
after a little while, I got to the point where nobody wanted to play me in Washington Square Park. So then one of the chess hustlers there, Arkady, who's also in the backgammon scene, said he took me to Liberty Park. This is before the World Trade Center got blown up.
So that was downtown,
And
yeah?
downtown, yeah. And there we played for $5 a point.
A 5x increase. That's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't have much money. So in the beginning, he was kind of like my partner.
So he was backing you a little bit, giving you some.
He wasn't backing me. He was taking a piece of me.
Taking a piece. Okay. He was like, this guy's good. Let's get him in the games. I heard the games down there were legendary.
They were like, it was, the games were open. Anyone could play as long as you paid, whatever. We play 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever amount of people were there. Didn't matter. And everyone
in one chouette, 7, 8, 9, 10 people.
Yes.
How many people would be down there every day?
Oh, they were during the summer. There were people. They were playing chess. They were playing backgammon. There could be like, at the peak, there might be 30 people playing or 40 people playing.
Wow. And they were all different stakes games. You were just playing in the $5 game at the time, yeah?
Exactly. I was playing in the highest game, whatever the highest game was at the time. But yeah, some people were playing for dollars. They were playing for fun. They were playing chess. Different stuff. And
So
sorry.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
And as I was playing, I got better and better and better really fast too. So.
And then when did you realize that this is something that you wanted to do? Like, seriously?
Great question. So when I was in school, I didn't really know what I was going to do. I majored in finance, and I figured I would do something there, maybe be an options trader or a commodities trader or something like that. But I kind of realized that I like gambling better, playing games, have more control of what's going on. So I would say probably by my junior year of college, I kind of thought this is what I wanted to do.
And how much were you making back then? Did you think, like, I'm sure there must have been a number where you were like, okay, like I could live off of what I'm doing now if this continues.
Well, it really rapidly increased when I finished school, because I would spend a lot more time gambling. But in the beginning, I'd be happy to make 500 in a day or something like that. When I was in school, sometimes but I didn't have that many hours to play because I was, a little focused on my studies, not a lot, but a little.
And you were only playing backgammon back then?
Correct. Only backgammon. I didn't even know anything really existed.
And you were making $500 potentially a day at $5 a point?
It got up to where it went for 5, then 10, then 20. I would say, within a couple months, I was playing like $20 a point. And I would make about 500 a day, I would say, something like that, in days that I could play.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good, especially when you're fresh out of college, right? Like,
yeah. And then, from playing in the streets, now, like, I started playing in clubs. They used to have backgammon clubs in New York, which they don't anymore. But the games were like $25 a point, and then another club up to 100 a point.
And who were you playing with? Who were any notable customers
back
then?
Or? Yeah. Peter Just Thompson, Gus Hansen, Morton Holm, a lot of the Danish guys. I played with Dirk Sheeman, Mike Sankiewicz, Rick Barabino, Kenny Arnold, Falafel, of course.
Wow.
Yeah.
So and you played in these high stakes games with these players too, right?
Mike Spavotny. I play. Yeah.
So when you were winning this money, it wasn't just like entirely a group of fish. There were sharks in the midst.
There were some. When I was young, I stepped right into the fire, played in whatever the biggest game was. That's the game I wanted to play in, and that's the game I tried to play in.
And has it always been like an upward trajectory, or were there any setbacks along the way that made you kind of go, like, what am I doing?
In games, pretty much it's always been an upward trajectory. But I mean, I've gotten I ran into a couple of cheaters at times, which, that didn't go too well for me.
How
And
cheaters?
yes,
How long ago was this?
well, when I first started out, I was known as a guy that would play for anybody, for any stakes, any game. So of course,
And you still are, by the way.
I'm not as brash as I was back then, but so people would come from all over the place and challenge me.
Yeah.
In different stuff. They challenged me in gin, backgammon, whatever, claviage, different kind of games. And when there's a lot of money involved, there could be some cheating, and I really didn't know how to protect myself. And I've gotten cheated for a lot.
So, can you tell any of those stories about how you got cheated before? Do you feel comfortable doing that? Not necessarily the money, how much it lost, but like maybe just like how they did it.
Okay. One story is it's unbelievably stupid of me. They snuck in loaded dice on me, and I would roll the dice, and if I rolled a 7, they convinced me that I roll better than average. I'm a high roller, so if I rolled under a 7, I get paid 1.1 units or 1.05 units. And if I rolled over a 7, I'd pay 1 unit. So they were basically spotting me 5%. And of course, and stupid as I am, I didn't realize that I was getting cheated.
That's crazy.
Well, I mean,
no, like it's just to even have somebody think of that spot and then sneak in dice that rolled under a 7.
No, over a 7.
Over a 7.
They had weighted dice to weight it to 4, 5, and 6. I'm not sure the exact weight of the dice.
Yeah.
But it's it would roll those numbers, much more often.
Wow.
So, I mean, they've used cameras on me, marked cards, magnetic dice.
So poker and backgammon, they've tried to cheat you.
Yeah, cards and dice. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I'm sure a lot of them, some of them I found out years later. I'm sure some of them I didn't even find out, but there's nothing you can do about it. Just you got to know you're playing. You got to know what you're playing, because if somebody's really good at it, and they weren't even really good at it. I was just so young and naive and stupid.
Wow. That's crazy. So have you ever caught anybody in the act, like when it was happening?
Yes. Yeah, I've done that a couple times. So, I mean, one guy, we were playing gin rummy, and he took a deuce of spades, and then a couple cards later, he put his hand down and knocked, and there was no deuce of spades. And I looked at the card he turned down. There was no deuce of spades. I went right to his hand, and he had the deuce of spades palmed in his hand. So,
wow. Wow, he didn't expect you to be able to remember every card in his hand, right?
I don't know what, I mean, I guess he was just gonna try to, whatever, and then pick it up and then just put it back in there or whatever. I mean, I've caught guys drop cards on the floor and stuff like that when they're playing with extra cards, but what, I mean, all you can do is just say, that this particular game is a wash.
Yeah. And, and then you just stop playing with them 100%, right?
Yeah. Yeah, basically.
Wow. Wow, that's absolutely crazy. Crazy. So always played in the largest games that you could find, and you played backgammon down at Liberty Park for how long? And then in these clubs in New York City. So they used to have just backgammon clubs, right? The Ace Point Club I heard about. What are some of the other ones?
The Coterie.
The Coterie.
That was the most exclusive club back then. And there was another place called New York Chess and Backgammon down by Bryant Park.
New York Chess and Backgammon Club. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, there were 3. Those were the 3 clubs in New York. And the games, in the Coterie were like 100 and up. In the Ace Point was like 25. And New York Chess and Backgammon was like maybe 10 to 20, something like that.
And how long did those clubs stay open? Like, I mean, I'm sure they were open for like, I mean, not just hours in the day, but like what year did they start to wane? Because I know the problem with those clubs is they started to transition to poker, right?
Right. Well, the Ace Point became a poker club. And then, and so the Coterie got sold, and then also became like a poker club to the next owner. And then I guess that all lasted. So they'd be playing poker and backgammon and gin and other stuff in these clubs. But that all lasted until I think 2008.
2008.
When basically the government, the Vice Squad busted up all these big poker clubs, and then now there's pretty much no more poker clubs.
Yeah, there's no more above ground poker clubs in New York City anymore because of that.
Correct.
So these clubs obviously had to make their money, right? How were they making money from the backgammon games before it turned to poker?
They charged a fee for the day.
For the whole day. So they were charging it like a membership fee.
Yes.
Yeah, per day, which is legal, right?
I guess so.
Yeah.
I guess it was.
And then, because like from what I understand, right? Like, I'm no lawyer, obviously, right? But like my understanding from watching the movie Molly's Game is that the problem happened when they started like taking a rake from these games. That is the illegal part, right? Instead of charging a fee for being a club and you pay a membership fee or you pay a fee for the day, if you're taking a rake from the pot, that ends up being against the law.
That's what I understood it to be too. But again, I'm a player. I'm not running anything. It's obviously a very area.
Yeah. So would you say that like poker ruined the backgammon scene in New York City to an extent?
Yeah, maybe that's true, because people are started getting less interested in backgammon, and a lot of backgammon players transitioned to poker. So yeah, it probably, people got older and, moved on to other things or passed away. So it sort of died down a little bit. Yeah, I would say that.
Yeah,
probably a contributive factor.
Because you mentioned Gus Hansen, right? And everybody knows Gus Hansen from like the World Poker Tour days and just being like the crazy guy in the poker scene. But a lot of people don't know that he used to be, or still is, one of the best backgammon players in the world, and was playing backgammon just like you way before poker was ever a thing.
Right. Gus started at backgammon too, and he's probably the most naturally talented backgammon player in the world. Even today, he doesn't work as hard on it as somebody like Mochi, who's the best player. Mm-hmm. But I spoke to him about a couple of months ago. He said I asked him what he's playing at. He said, I play at a 3 without it's nothing.
Without really trying. It's just I played at 3. It's funny, right. Like just a lot of people got their start in backgammon and transitioned to poker. Dirk Sheeman played backgammon, transitioned to poker. You started with backgammon, transitioned to poker. So did you transition to poker naturally just because the backgammon rooms people started playing poker?
Well, I'm not necessarily trying to be the best backgammon player in the world, or the best gin player in the world, or the best poker player in the world. I just want to be the best player. I mean, the best that I can play at in whatever game people are playing in. Mm-hmm. So what happened was, for me personally, when I got to the Coterie, I see them playing gin rummy all the time. So that's how I started to play gin rummy. And then, when poker became popular on TV, literally the first tournament I ever played in, I came in 4th in a WPT event in like 2003 or something. I never played No Limit in my life. I came. That's the truth.
The first day on the felt, I was the 4th best player in the room.
Well, again, I don't know if the level of play back then was so much less than it was today. It was sort
100%.
of. It would, people never would ever, somebody would open with a lot of different stuff, but if somebody re-raised, they always had kings or aces.
Yeah. And
the only people that weren't doing that were me and Gus. So that's why Gus was winning a ton in the beginning too. Also, in the World Poker Tour, he won like so many tournaments because, then they thought, of course, he's nuts, he's crazy. But now you see that everyone kind of plays that way.
Yeah. Everybody thought he had a hand back before you could see his cards.
Wow.
So like,
Well, what was happening is they were waiting for big hands to catch him with, and they were getting bleeded dry on their between the blinds and the antes, and then even when they had the big hand that was better than them, it didn't necessarily hold up. So that's what basically happened for him. That's why he won so much in the beginning.
Yeah, I remember being at like Foxwoods casinos sort of after the whole moneymaker thing, after Greg Raymer won, where everyone wanted to be Gus Hansen back in the day. And I mean, people loved just being in there with nothing and just hoping for the best. And you could sit there and money would come.
But yeah, it's not, Gus he's not playing crazy. He was just.
No, he was exploiting the players.
Right, exactly.
He was exploiting the players based on what they perceived would be normal play until they realized that he was doing something different. And then he had to change his style too, to evolve with his perception over time. Yeah. So how did you play? Because I remember, I recognize you from the poker on television and stuff like that. So how did that thing happen?
How did I start playing poker on TV?
Yeah.
I guess that would be with, Daniel Negreanu asked me to do a couple of these shows. And, at that point, I kind of wanted to be famous and stuff. They would pay me to do them too. And I think I was pretty good on them. I played a lot of hands, which everybody wants to see. They don't want someone sitting there waiting for monsters. And I played a lot of hands, and I mean, I did okay in those shows, I think.
Oh, that's cool. So yeah, there you go. So Daniel Negreanu asked you to be on TV playing these things, and you were like, I want to be on TV too. Why aren't they showing me, And you got on there. I mean, that's pretty cool. But, so what did they pay you to be on those shows?
They paid like $12.50 an hour. So it was like $10,000 for 8-hour shows. And you basically sign your rights forever. They could show it. Even today, they're still showing this. They still show them.
Yeah, wow. They come up on my recommended all the time on YouTube. Watch this hand. This happened, and you're like, this happened 20 years ago. Like, what's going on?
I still remember when I see the hands. What's going to happen?
Yeah, your memory is really, really good for like the specifics of what happened in a game, like in a hand, in a game of backgammon. Like this happened, this checker, and then you remember. And that just comes naturally, I think, right? Just from playing these games for so long. It's just hard not to remember.
Right. I mean, you played with me enough to know that I can remember positions almost every single checker, like, 10 minutes after, 15 minutes after. And same thing with, card hands. I can remember gin hands and stuff.
Yeah. Same thing happens to me. I mean, I remember positions quite easily, and I can remember the game and what happened and the dice rolls that came afterwards and how we got to the next position. And it just kind of, I think if you end up being good at games, that's a skill that kind of has to be there.
Yes, exactly.
Because if your ability to remember the patterns and how the position was constructed just isn't there in your brain, there's just no way for you to kind of understand the patterns of certain games and get them all to start working in your favor. So,
and actually, what you said is that's the key to all games, is to recognize the patterns and know what to do. And then when similar positions come up, you know what to do. And anybody that's great in any game recognizes the patterns in that game.
And that's what it is. More than backgammon, I see a lot of stuff, and people start going into the matrix and stuff and start figuring out the equity of this and that. And in my experience, like in tournament matches and playing money over the board, I've seen something similar. I know what is done at certain scores and matches. And I just go, okay, well, I've seen this and I've made this mistake before. I've been able to reference it and check it. I know that I'm supposed to do this in this spot, right? And then that's just kind of how you just move forward. You just go, well, I've seen something similar before.
Exactly.
I remember. I've made this mistake before. How many times do I need to continue to make this mistake? And like once, twice, maybe. Let's hope I don't continue. But like sometimes things happen. But yeah, overall, that's how you play.
And actually, when I'm playing game, it doesn't bother me if I lose. It bothers me if I make mistakes. And I think about my mistakes all the time.
And in a game like backgammon, though, the losses happen. Like it's impossible, especially in chouettes. Like it's impossible not to have big losing days and also big winning days.
Of course, I expect that. But again, I just don't. I'm just trying to not make mistakes. That's what I want to do, or not make big mistakes.
That's the only thing you can control, though.
Right.
You can't control what the dice do unless you're one of these guys you're talking about from back in the day. But if you can't control what the dice do, you can only control what you can do, and that's just to make good decisions.
Correct.
That's just how you're supposed to win. You just make good decisions, and the math's supposed to work its way out. So this match, you decided to play against Mochi. How did that happen?
All right. Well, again, I wasn't really following Backgammon, even in like 2017, 2018.
But by follow, you mean you weren't following who was playing. I mean, you've been playing Backgammon forever. You never stopped.
Right. I didn't really stop, but I played less for like 10 years between when poker just started. For like about 10 years, I wasn't really playing that much Backgammon, and I didn't really follow it.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't even know. And they were mentioning Mochi, Michi. Okay, whatever. I didn't know nothing. I didn't even know anything about any of these people. And then some games started in New York, so I started playing more Backgammon. And then someone said, "Why don't you watch these Backgammon matches on YouTube?" So okay, I'm watching on YouTube, and I stumbled on the UBC stuff, and I'm like, wow, this is an unbelievable format where you play these 7-point matches, and you get a point for winning and a point for playing better. I mean, this is something I'd really be interested in. And one of the reasons I quit Backgammon, actually, or stopped playing as much, is because people started, in these tournaments they were playing so slow, it's painful.
And for real Backgammon players, people playing slow is like a death. It's like a slow death. Yeah.
And I didn't even know they at some point they introduced clocks into these tournaments, and now it's like, a mainstay in these tournaments, but they didn't used to have clocks back then. And so people would, they'd roll the dice and they'd go like this, fold their arms, start thinking.
Take a nap, wake up 5 minutes later. It's still the first roll, and they rolled a 3-1, and they're like just sitting there looking at the board, trying to decide what to do.
And it drove me crazy. I couldn't take it. So now someone suggested I start watching these YouTube matches, and I see Mochi, and I see him playing at these astronomical levels, which to me, they say it's subhuman, and it is subhuman levels. And, it's a testament to how great of a player he is and how much he works that he can play at those levels. But one thing I did notice was that he wasn't the greatest of time managers.
Mm-hmm.
And situations where his clock would go down, he would play at a more normal level.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to see for myself what level I could play at. And in order to sort of, neutralize him a little bit, I decided on some sort of speed Backgammon. And then I guess me and him, we talked about it, and we came up with the format that we ended up playing with.
Yeah, I played a few games with Mochi with this penalty in place. And I played a few games with you with this penalty in place. And it really did keep the pace going. Nobody wants to pay equity. How do you feel about the settlement that you ended up having? Because I played some games with him at 1%. I didn't feel like it was enough. We talked about 2%. Then we kind of settled on 1.5%.
Well,
what do you think?
Obviously, I wanted it to be higher. I didn't really negotiate hard, and the faster, the bigger penalty would be better for me because I play faster than him. And also, during the whole match, I probably cost myself, I think, about 2 minutes in time by not pressing the clock, which is on me, obviously. But
you know what? Somebody noticed in one of the videos that also happened to Mochi a few times. Like during episode 1, somebody pointed out that he forgot to hit his clock in a bear off, and then what happened was he rolled, and then you rolled, but you hit your clock, and then and so he also lost quite a few seconds worth of time throughout this thing with just accidentally not hitting the clock, and then it goes back and forth, and the delay time doesn't reset. That was something that people did notice happened on his side as well.
Again, as I play, I'm looking to play more of these this kind of format against other top pros, and I think I will be better at hitting the clock and making sure I don't lose time on that stuff.
I mean, you played like what, 5 or 6 games with me just to warm up before the start of the match,
Right.
and then just jumped in the deep end with the best player in the world. So most people would like watch Mochi playing, and they might think, okay, yeah, this guy's the best in the world. It's not even close. And then, yeah, he does have time management issues. But that they wouldn't then go, you know what? I'm going to challenge this guy to a high stakes cash game though, and see if I can squeeze some juice out of Mochi. You know,
Well,
like that's not a normal switch people have. They don't go, you know what? This guy's really the best in the world. But if I put him on a clock, like maybe I could squeeze some juice out of this orange.
I thought it could even out the playing. I actually thought he would probably play at like a 4. I probably would play at a 5, and I'd probably make up the difference in beating him on, the penalties he's going to have in time. So I thought it'd be like an equal kind of match. That's what I thought.
I thought he would use more time than he did, because when I played him during our games, so I played him over at the New York tournament in this format, just like on the side, and he used quite a bit of time. He used, I think, 30 seconds in about 4 or 5 games, and I just go, and we were even on points afterwards, and I just go, okay, there could be something to this. Like he but then when the real money was on the line, because we were playing lower stakes, the turbo jets went on, and you saw Mochi. I mean, I saw Mochi playing at a speed I didn't know he was capable of.
He prepped a lot for it, and he thought about it. He planned it. He's very calculated, and he was not going to be unprepared for this match. Let's put it that way.
He wasn't going to get blindsided. If he was putting his money on the line, he was going to be prepared.
And I actually thought he missed some stuff too, but it seems like he didn't really miss any plays. I mean, he did miss I saw from episode 2 that double 4s in one of the opening moves, where he didn't make 2 points and he ended up making his 5 point.
Yeah, the oversight on the blitz versus just making the 5. Yeah, I remember that.
Yes, exactly. But that's like a rare thing. He would never miss that if he had unlimited time.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, because you would think with a time format like that, you would induce blunders based on just the need to move and just oversights. But as we see, so we haven't shown episodes, I think 3 and 4 yet, but he played really well. He played really well. His 1-ply level is, like he said in one of our interviews, his 1-ply level is still really good. Yeah. Even when he's not thinking and crunching all 36 possible combinations after he makes this play, his even just 1-ply level is pretty good.
And like one thing I never had the pip count ever the whole match. He said he was keeping a running count.
He had a running count in most games. Yeah.
Yeah. And I never really had it. I'm just playing on total instinct.
Yeah. And I was actually, so I know the final PRs. I was surprised by how well you played at this really fast time control. I make the joke to you all the time now, ever since seeing this. I go, Abe, you play so much better when you're not thinking. It's amazing.
Well, I'm not going to believe that, but
I was really, really, really impressed. I'm not going to lie. Like I don't blow smoke up anyone's ass by saying nonsense ever. But what you pulled off at the end was really, 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 really impressive.
But again, I just, I don't need as much time as other people. So, it doesn't affect me as much. But I think I could probably play it better, of course, if I had a little bit more time. And some decisions, especially on cube decisions.
What, like the beaver? Like the beaver?
Oh, like the beaver, the beaver, that beaver is just like, he's on my bar point. The race seemed kind of close. He knew what the race was. You didn't, but with the eyeball test, it looked pretty good. Right. It looked good. And so, I'm sure I'm the best player that ever beavered Mochi in his life. So.
I mean, your PR was great despite the beaver too. If the beaver wasn't in there, You know, like obviously the PR would have been even better, but like in that moment, so I wish I had face cameras set up just for the moment you decided to beaver Mochi, because when he gave you that cube, there's this look you have when like I've played with you enough. I know what you're thinking, right? I know what you're thinking in that moment. You look up, you made this face, and I just go, he's gonna beaver Mochi right now, isn't he? And then you just go beaver and turn the cube to 4, and everybody in the room lost it. You know, it's an amazing moment that I'm glad was captured on video. Beavering Mochi in this game, and the best part about it was he immediately rolled the double twos to like get away from your 18 point. Then all of a sudden he's up like, you know, X amount in the race, maybe like, I don't know, like 20 pips or something.
Over.
And then you beat him in the race afterwards, just rolling lights out, and then you get to give him the 8 cube, which is the best. I love it when the beaver turns into a quick turnaround and a win, you know?
Well, yeah.
I'm never gonna forget that. I mean, no one will either. It's online.
That was a good moment in the game that I gammoned them on a 4 level in episode 2 where I had.
Yeah, that's the biggest regret game that Mochi's had, I think, in recent memory, is that game where he said it himself. He misplayed a lot of things in that game and gave, I think, a bad recube, if I remember correctly.
Correct. Bad 4 cube, and then I
snatched it. You snatched it, you know? Mm-hmm. And my thought is it was a mistake on 2 levels, right? It was a mistake because it was an XG mistake, right? And it was a mistake on another level because there's no way you're passing, right?
I take everything.
You're a very deep taker. So like, if you're like taking some small or medium passes, right? And you're in a position where you're not even sure if it's a cube. If you're playing against a player that might pass and you're not sure if it's a cube, then you could double that and get away with it. But with a guy that you know is going to take positions that are worse, it's an even bigger mistake, right?
Probably, but I actually felt that Mochi didn't adjust for the fact that I was taking everything. And he just played like he's playing a computer and just try to play like a perfect PR, and so he didn't really adjust to any of that. But yeah, that could work against him too. I mean, he could start doubling me late and me passing too.
Yeah, it's possible. Less likely though. Less likely the passes. The passes are less likely. But I mean,
yeah,
you lose 100% of the games you pass. That's for sure, right?
But in my mind, I always feel like I could. Even if it's a small pass or something, I feel like I can make it up with some of my checker plays.
You feel like you can snake your way out of some of the games, right?
or my opponents will make some errors or something like that, or they might make an error later in the cube. So I feel like, the equity, I'll make up the equity that I'm giving up. That's what. Now,
this is true against your normal opponents. But against the number 1 player in the world, it's a little less likely. But it's so ingrained in the being, that like I'm gonna outplay this guy.
Yeah,
I like it. I like it.
I didn't think I would. Let's put it this way: I was not intimidated by him at all. Exactly. Even when I was down 12 points, I didn't really even know that I was down 12 points. I just knew I was down. I didn't really change my game or alter or play, get steamy or anything like that. I just played.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you've been in some of the craziest spots ever, and playing games wise, being up a lot, being down a lot, like, so a game like this, there aren't many people in the world that have as much high stakes experience as you. Like, this game isn't going to rattle you. This isn't going to rattle the snake, is it?
No.
Nothing is going to rattle the snake. Like there have been big games I've heard about where the snake has been rattled maybe once or twice in history.
There has, and a lot of it, I've gotten older, more mature, and I don't really let stuff affect me as much. But yeah,
those are learning experiences too, though, right?
Correct. but that I don't think that would happen to me today. It happened to me, but I don't. I think I'm a better seasoned gambler than today now.
I mean, how long have you been like, so you said since what, 92, 93, and the year is 2022 now. So what are
Yeah,
we talking about? 30 years of professional gambling?
yeah, pretty much 30 years.
And you've done, I mean, it's just backgammon, gin, and poker, backgammon, gin, and poker, backgammon,
Now,
gin, and
but
poker.
I've played other games. I've played hearts. I've played claviage. Uh,
But people hearing this are going to go, okay, like you played hearts. Like how much money are you making at hearts? You know, it's like some people don't even know what these games are. And you're like, but I made a living playing hearts though. And you're like,
Well,
what
I
are you talking about? Like, what kind of money are you making playing hearts?
we were playing for a decent amount where you can make, a couple thousand in a session.
But
And
are they the same people that are playing these other games with you? And then they go, let me play this other game. Or is there just a heart circle?
You know what? I've played with different people in different games, and it's almost like, most people just like to play one game, whether it's poker, whether it's gin, or they're just good at one game.
Yeah.
Even the guys that are like top players in let's say in how would Mochi be playing do at gin? I don't would he be anything special?
Probably. I mean, like if he just started playing today, he would be terrible. How long would it take for him to get competent? Who knows? Because some people's brains don't work for every game, right? But one thing that's very special about you as a player is that, let's say your PR at backgammon is like a 5, right? Your PR at poker, let's say no limit hold'em. I mean, but what would your PR be at no limit hold'em?
Probably worse than that.
Probably worse than that. Okay. But it's funny though, because people don't really realize how bad they are at poker, and you're just in games with players that play much worse than you all the time. Yeah.
Correct. People poker, exactly, because there's no computer. There's no computer that tells you what your PR is. So everyone thinks they're great at poker. That's why that game, more than any other game, has the most money in that game. People are willing to lose and gamble more in poker than anything else.
Because there's nothing to tell you are 100% right or wrong, because poker computers work in frequencies, and you could always tell yourself that, hey, 10% of the time I was supposed to do what I did, and it just didn't work out that time.
And also, I mean, if at the end, Phil Ivey could play for 3 months poker and lose, while Mochi can never play 3 months backgammon and lose. It's impossible.
Yeah.
In a sweat or something like that,
So what about the Chouette dynamic? So like we have on film 4 episodes of you playing heads up with Mochi, and then we have the bonus video afterwards of seeing the snake in his natural habitat, shall we say. This is my David Attenborough voice of the Abe snake. This is the Abe snake in his natural territory in a game with more than 2 people, like weaving his way through, because you're playing against 2 world champs. You got Nevzat and you've got Mochi in this game, and you've got yourself now in a Chouette, and that should probably go up, because that's a great format.
For me personally, I like playing a Chouette much more than head up, because I get that mental break, and then I can really, really focus. And then I get a mental break when so I just feel like I play much better that way.
I'm the exact opposite. I like having every decision in my hand, and I don't like sitting around. I feel like the biggest edge is when I'm playing, and everything else I'm just like, I don't know, it's rough for me. But
because I know for you it bothers you when your partner makes some crazy play, but for me I just laugh it off.
Yeah, it's and I'm sitting there going, and we know over the years I went from doing this to doing this to doing this a little bit less, and then I'm like, now I'm able to keep it under my breath a little, and sometimes I make a face, but I gotta hide myself. Like it's difficult for me. I don't know if you've noticed, I'm very expressive. I'm very expressive.
I've noticed. What you gotta do is just in your mind, when you see something like that, just think about it this way: they're gonna make that mistake against me too, and they're gonna be against me more often than they're with me. So I'm
Yes,
going to
this
benefit.
is this is this is this is the thought process for sure. This is what you have to do. And uh, uh, a famous British backgammon player who hosted a game, a chouette for, I mean, decades, John Clark. Are you familiar with him?
No,
Yeah,
I am not.
yeah.
I'm not.
He said he did commentary with I think Falafel back in the day during the World Series of Backgammon days of he was one of the commentators and a very very strong player in his own right, and he said chouettes are the only way you can really make money playing backgammon, because who wins and loses can be hidden as it goes back and forth throughout the days, but in a heads up match, no idiot's going to come back and play you heads up when they lose every time.
That's exactly true. And actually, in all gambling aspects, I'm not really looking to play head up games. I'm looking to play, group games in poker, gin, backgammon, everything. I just want to play, because exactly what you said. It's a more friendly environment. People aren't as mad at you if you win. It's just a better way. It's just a better gambling format for me.
For longevity, if you're trying to do it as a career, like you need
Correct.
to have games all the time, and no one's going to make themselves available to lose to you heads up all the time. Like they have the heads up no limit thing, right? But like players like Polk and Negron, like they had to, they're going to meet up. They had to do this whole, jumping through the hoops, this whole hoopla. They have a certain number, but like in a ring game though of poker, those are happening 24/7 all the time. There's no special. You got to call somebody to meet up. Like they're just happening. Do you want to come to the game? There's a game here. There's a game there. It's just much easier to get games in a ring game than it would be a heads
For
up
sure.
game and a heads up game.
For sure. Again, if somebody realizes they're better, that you're better than them, they usually they're not going to want to play you.
There's some special circumstances, but it's much easier to keep the game going in a
ring game kind of thing.
in a ring game. So you want to challenge more people to this
Yeah.
format. Do you have anybody you want to call out?
I mean,
I mean, you've already shot for the biggest dog that there is, like who else is out there for the Abe
I don't
Snake?
want to mention names, but I'll pretty much challenge anybody. We're gonna play, nice stakes, not nosebleed, not meaningless. Somewhere where it kind of hurts if you lose, if you take a big loss, and you kind of get a good if you win. I mean, and that's I'd like to do that. I don't know if anyone's gonna want to play, but I'm sure there'll be some guys that they're gonna want to do it.
So I know we were talking about you doing this before you actually before Jason brought the word to Mochi that hey, this guy wants to play you. And then I was like, can I record it? Can I get the video of this and put it on YouTube? You get the PRs. Was that like a contingency? Like you definitely wanted to see how well that you played at the end. You wanted the video of it.
I would have done it without the video, but I really wanted. I did want to see what my PR was going to be.
Yeah.
So I guess I would have wanted somebody to do some kind. If it would have gone up on YouTube, that's fine. But I wanted to see what level I played at.
I'm just trying to sneak my way in there to get the videos of any future challenges that happen. That's what I'm doing now.
You got all. You will. For me, you got all. I give you all the rights.
I've got exclusive rights to the videos from here on forever. I don't have to pay you $1,250 per episode per hour per episode.
No.
All right, that's good. So,
and by the way,
yeah,
I mean, I think the commentary in the video is great. I didn't know if you'd be able to pull it off because of the pace,
the speed
but
of it.
Yeah, exactly. But it's really well done.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. There's been a lot of people that have put some hours into getting the videos done besides just myself. There's a guy named Hussein Paknahar who's done all of the XG video transcriptions that we add to the sidebar. He's put in tons of hours. He's getting episode 3 ready for that. And I get all the stuff ready in the computer, and I just try to talk at a reasonable pace. You can't keep up with everything, so you have to just select specific things you want to talk about and elaborate, and not try to be like because then it just becomes incoherent and just unwatchable and unlistenable. And I don't want to be one of those commentators that you can't really listen to.
And also, at the end of the videos when you go over stuff with Mochi, that's great too.
Yeah,
You know,
we've got entertainment stuff in the beginning, and then we got the stuff for the nerds at the end. You know.
I, I mean,
But
that's great when he goes over his mistakes, tells you what he's thinking, stuff
yeah,
like.
100%. I mean, it's really nice, and that's why half of the videos are going on his channel. Like I don't need all 4 videos on my channel. Like if I can get the #1 player in the world to go over his cash games and talk about what he was thinking, I like let's just share everything. Like that's just something for everybody to have out there, to have the best player in the world talk about his cash games and what he was thinking, and it's just beneficial for everybody to just share everything around the board, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and you know what I've noticed about Mochi? As the more he's getting better and better and better and better too. Like I've noticed older matches versus more current matches. It seems like he just whatever his mistakes, he just learns and learns and learns and learns. And I mean, I don't know how low his PR could ever get to, but
Let's do the limbo. How low can you go? How
yeah.
low can you go? How
I
low?
mean, right now, I think it's under. I think if he plays money games, it's probably with a decent amount of time, it's probably under a 2. Do you think that's true?
I think it's quite possible. In a hyper focused sort of setting where he's trying to do it, 100%,
Yeah.
I think it could be done because situationally it's much easier in a money game from game to game because everything is just being played at like an unlimited score where you don't have to adjust your checker play or your cube decisions for the score, which makes every game a bit easier.
Mhm.
And so without a lot of those like
But
technicalities involved, I
do you
think he
feel
could do it.
do you feel the same way about Mochi that he's getting better and better too?
For sure. I mean, I learned how to play backgammon watching his matches and Falafel's commentary and his commentary on old matches. And back in the day, these guys were happy to be playing under a 4. Then at a certain point, they were happy when they were cracking 3.5. You were like the best in the world. You were playing a 3.5. Now you're like an average world class player if you're playing under a 4.
If
You're playing under
you
a
can't
3.5.
you can't even play in the UBC if you're not playing a 3.5. You can't
Yeah,
even
you
not
shouldn't
even
even
work.
you shouldn't even be showing up. It's not even worth the transcriber's time. In my opinion, personally, if you can't average under a 3.5 for sure, because everybody else that's there is playing under a 3.5
Right.
easy.
Yeah.
Easy, easy, easy. 3.5 now is like average world class. You're doing
Well,
okay.
now you're talking top 30 players in the world.
I mean,
So
you'd be surprised how not like if you're like I said, if you're talented with pattern and pattern recognition, how not difficult it is, in my opinion at least, if you start at a decent enough age, I think to get there. I don't think it is.
you think there's more than 30 guys in the world that can play at a 3.5?
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. I could name 30 people probably right now that could play at 3.5. But to be fair, I probably am familiar with all of the players that can play under a 3.5, and I could see why you might not know as many because you play in the cash game world of New York City, and I know a lot of these tournament guys that play exceptionally well, and they just
Well,
are known in our very small community. But yeah, I think there's definitely more than 30
well,
people that can play
well,
under
I'm
3.5.
available for all these players to play.
If they want to come down and test the venom.
I speed.
Yeah. So, is there any question that I haven't asked you that you wanted to like say something or express something I didn't get across?
No, we pretty much covered everything that I want to talk about.
Okay. That's good then. I think this was great. I'm glad I finally got to interview the Abe Snake and talk a little bit about his gaming history and how you got into poker and backgammon and gin and talked about this challenge a bit. So
Mhm.
there's nothing else you want to
There's
That's
something
good.
else you want.
No, I can't really think of anything right now. I mean, I took I just did this sort of like off the cuff. I wanted to be a bit natural with it. I didn't write down a bunch of questions, and I think it worked out really really well.
Yeah, I think so too. It was a fully unscripted interview from my point of view.
Fully unscripted. It was good. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. I'm sure a lot of people are going to get a lot out of this, and we should do one of these videos after all 4 episodes come out. We can go over some of the positions that you thought were interesting, and we can get your insight on some checker plays and cube decisions, and maybe some stuff outside of the realm too of just what XG would have done in this spot, but like maybe how you approach the game as a whole, what kind of adjustments
Okay, I
you
would like.
make. Maybe a bit more of a technical episode where this one is just more about the man, you know?
I would like that a lot. Of course, you need to help me download Extreme on my computer.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny how many things you're good at and how the technical aspects of how we can get a computer going is the sticking point.
But I think you're scared to do it because you scared you might unleash a beast.
I don't want to give you XG. We're at the game. You're like, put XG on my computer. I was like, oh, I pulled a muscle in my foot. I can't walk over to where your computer is. Are you sure you want to spend $60 on the XG program? Are you sure?
I think by the way, that's probably the reason I don't have XGs because no one's helped me get it.
No one's put it on your computer yet. That's the only reason. You're putting it on XG Mobile. And
Right.
and as we know, if you play as good as XG Mobile, we'll play every day of the week. XG Mobile is like, remember that position the other day we put it in? It said that it was a take by like 18%, and then like I put it in regular XG and it was a pass by like 8%, like on XG++. Like, it's wild, Mobile. I don't know if it's just because it only has the power of your phone or what, but it's even at its best setting, it plays a wild game.
I don't think it's bad as some people claim, but
in certain positions, it is very weak. Yeah,
you're right. Certain complicated positions, it probably doesn't.
That's why when we bet positions, I don't want to bet on what XG Mobile says. I want to bet on what ++ says. But the thing is, at the same time, I'm lazy and I don't want to lug my computer to and from the game either.
That's why if you just put
and I also don't want to put it on your computer either.
Oh, well, you can't. You can't have everything.
I can try. I can try. But Abe, this was great. Thank you for doing this, and
My pleasure.
I hope to do the technical one sometime soon, and I'll see if I can find a way to do it without putting XG on your computer. So I'm going to sign off now. I'm going to sign off now, and I hope everyone enjoyed this. Like the channel. Wait, like the video. There we go. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll see what I can do about making some more content, and have a good day.